Hey there, Cozy Babe, and welcome back to the Cozy Babes Club. Today, I want to talk to you about why your identity really matters the most when you are trying to open a new chapter of your life. So, we're just kind of riffing this a little bit. I didn't come with a bunch of notes, but this is something I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. And I want to say, ultimately, I came across a lot of this information when I got really into manifestation babes content. I want to say circa 2018, 2019. But these are things I've been knowing throughout all of my manifestation journeys that I've been on, all my spiritual journeys that I've been on. And I want to just go into a little bit more detail about why the identity would matter the most. So, if you're really into manifestation right now, this is definitely going to be an episode that may shift your perspective. Or if you're not, I would say this is an episode that may shift your perspective a little bit and help you to actually gain a little bit more clarity. Now, I do want to say before we get into it that I do have a masterclass with a workbook that I designed. I'm not actually sure when that was designed, but it's one that I revisit all the time. It's available on my website, kloeetaylor.com, if you would like to purchase it. It's called Vision Board to Destiny. And it's not the vision board practice that I think is so good, even though I show you how to do that in a foolproof way. It's the workbook behind it, which has a lot of information that I've learned over the years. And it takes some of the concepts I'm going to teach you today into a much more like, it really is the roadmap. Like, if you feel like your manifestations are not working, if you feel like you keep meeting challenge after challenge and the things that you desire are not coming, that is the masterclass and workbook that is going to change it. Also, I want to say if you're watching the video, we're doing natural light today. The clouds are all over the place. The sun is starting to set. I do apologize if the lighting is all over. Would I be a video content creator if that did not happen periodically? Probably not. We're doing the natural lighting because it's better on my eyes. So, yeah, we're just going to be dealing with that. Anyways, I first want to talk to you about, first of all, what the hell am I even talking about? Shifting your identity. Why would that be important? So, I recently started reading Activate Your Future Self, which is by Mimi Beauchard. We have talked about this book since it was announced. I have mentioned it on numerous other episodes. I knew it was coming out in April, and I'm finally reading it. And this book, it basically has just reaffirmed a lot of things that I already knew and believed about how you can really take control of your life and change it. No matter where you are, no matter with what tools you have available to you, you can start today changing your life for free. And it's like a free way to do it, basically. And in her book, she goes over a lot of the science behind why it works, a lot of other studies that have been done on why it works. And I would recommend reading that book if you're new to the stuff that we're going to talk about today. But that book, I would also recommend a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I've never been to a retreat or anything, but I have taken his online course and I've read a couple of his books and I've watched him on a ton of podcasts. He talks a lot about using the power of the mind to heal yourself, and he himself has a degree, I want to say, in neuroscience, but uses both science and spirituality in a lot of his stuff, which I really like. And anyways, his stuff is very you have to shift your identity for your life to evolve in a way that you would want to see it evolve. So, this is Goblin editing Kloee from the future. When I said Maslow's hierarchy, every time I say it, I'm actually talking about Robert Dilts' logical levels of change. Maslow's hierarchy is actually Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is something completely different. So I just wanted to clear that up. The images that I show you are Robert Dilts' logical levels of change. So we're talking about something a little bit different than Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basically, I think the easiest way to explain this first before we actually talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and flipping that, because it's not exactly what you think. But the easiest way to describe this, and in a simple layman's terms as how this would work, is when somebody wants to bring about major change in their life, the easiest way to do it, the freest way to do it, is to shift who you think you are. Shift the story that you tell about yourself to yourself. And it's not easy necessarily. It is work because you have to catch yourself and stop yourself every single time until it becomes normal. I'm telling you, I have used this method to stop drinking alcohol. Like, what I'm going to share with you today, I've used this in my own life. And I know that it works because I've seen it work with not too much effort on my part, but enough. And it really boils down to the things that you say to yourself about yourself, you will find that they are true. And it comes down to like the sciencey answer behind that is that, and I've talked about this before, but we're just going to do a little refresher. It comes down to your reticular activating system or your RAS. The reticular activating system in your mind is the part of your brain that filters things out. So, like, if we didn't have that, there would be so much stimuli coming at us. Like, I would be seeing every fiber of this blanket in front of me. I would be feeling every single texture all at once. I would be hearing every sound. And it would be overwhelming to my human vessel. So, the reticular activating system, it actually filters a lot of this stuff out so that we can become singularly focused on where we want our attention. And this is why, like, if you say you really want to buy a red car, you'll start seeing red cars everywhere. It's the reticular activating system parroting it back to you. And it's kind of like your brain's little cheat code if you know how to use it to your advantage. So you can basically use this and make yourself focus on things to shape your life into, and like we saw this trend. Sorry, I know, like I said, I didn't have any notes, so we're kind of everywhere today. We saw this trend really boom, I want to say like a couple of years ago, when everybody was talking about lucky girl syndrome. And it was all like, oh, you just believe that you're lucky and then you are lucky. It's because you were paying more attention to the ways that you are lucky and you were putting less emphasis on the ways in which you were not. And like I said, it works because our brain literally is wired to do that. It is wired for us to have more focus on the things that we believe. So, this is why, like, this is why somebody could have the exact same experience, but because of an internal belief, they could internalize it differently. This is like how family psychology works. Every child could witness the same interaction between two parents, and they would all internalize it differently. Every single one of them would have a different opinion about how it went down because they all have their own internal belief systems. So, to start shifting this for your favor, allow me to give you some examples. So the one that I always like to mention first, because I think it is like the most pertinent, the easiest to spot, is when we're shifting a belief about ourselves, something that we would like to change, right? Let's say that you're a smoker and you would like to not smoke. Somebody that smokes but is trying to quit would react in one way. Let's call this person Ben. And then somebody that has assumed the identity of someone that doesn't smoke, let's call this person Jerry. Okay. Now, when Ben is offered a cigarette or a vape or something, Ben would say, oh, actually, I'm really trying not to smoke, but like, thanks. Jerry, when offered a cigarette or a vape, would go, actually, I don't smoke. Very subtle difference there, but it's because Jerry has assumed the identity. They have assumed the identity of someone that does not smoke. And so they wouldn't even say, oh, nope, sorry, I'm actually trying not to. They just, no, I don't smoke. I have used this in my own life to quit alcohol. So I know that it works because I just want to, like, if I could just have an honest moment, if we could just have a moment of honesty. I used to drink way too much. I used to drink an upwards of 4 cocktails a day. Like, it wasn't to the point that I was getting like blackout drunk every day, because I think honestly that was something that like kept me drinking. Was I would tell myself, "Oh, at least I'm not like my so and so that I know personally that gets blackout drunk every day. At least I'm not, drink." And it wasn't every day, but I would say it was most days of the week for me. I would tell myself all of these things about like, "Oh, at least it wasn't that bad." It was pretty bad. I was drinking a lot. And the thing is, and I've said this before in other episodes that I've talked about my issues with alcohol is that the question a lot of us ask ourselves about if we're abusing alcohol is, am I an alcoholic? When that's probably the stupidest question you could ask yourself. You should be asking yourself instead, is drinking alcohol keeping me from accomplishing my goals? Is alcohol something that I notice is affecting me in negative ways that I wouldn't like to have? Those are better questions. It doesn't mean that, like, it's almost like we have such a negative connotation to the word alcoholism that a lot of us will try to like find loopholes to not be it. And do I think I was an alcoholic? No. But do I think I was abusing alcohol? Yes. I was using it to cope with my problems. And through this tool, through realizing I could just identify as somebody who doesn't drink, I literally stopped drinking. And I went from being somebody that every time I was going to have a social interaction, or like even back in the day when I would do like gaming streams in 2016, I was drinking all the time. And like, yeah, I feel like in your 20s you are a little bit crazier, and like maybe that was just part of the 20 somethings culture. But again, we need to ask ourselves those important questions that I mentioned. And it was through this method that I was like, no, I'm just going to identify as somebody that doesn't drink anymore. And just started telling people that. I just started telling people, actually, I don't drink anymore. Actually, I don't drink. Actually, I don't really drink anymore. And I would also tell myself, like, I don't enjoy drinking. I don't enjoy the effects of alcohol on my body. I started to build all of these like internal beliefs by repeating them out loud and to myself that were like negative with alcohol. Like, alcohol makes me feel this way, which it really did. So I wasn't fabricating shit either. Alcohol makes me feel really inflamed, which it does. Alcohol makes me have headaches. I feel like I stole joy from the day before or from the next day when I do that. I would basically reframe it. And I got to a place where now, if somebody offers me a drink, it's no, I don't drink. Or I still think that, like, even now, I can have a drink and I still am not somebody that, like, I don't build my whole life around alcohol anymore. I think I have a really healthy relationship with it, actually. Like, I'm able to have a drink and be done at one, and it's not a big deal for me. It's not, alcohol doesn't run my life. I'm able to have a little celebration champagne and then I'm able to be done. I'm able to have a little Corona on Cinco de Mayo and then I'm done. It's not, oh, I need a whole 6 pack of this right now. Please go out and buy more. I'm going to run out. So, anyways, my point is, though, is that I assumed the identity of someone that simply just doesn't really drink. And that was the identity I wanted. I didn't want the identity of someone that just never drinks. I wanted the identity of somebody that could have a casual drink. And so that, I think, is really important too when you're trying to like assume a new identity. You have to ask yourself, what relationship to what you are trying to do you want to have? Like, because I've been in that road too. I've been on that road too, where you girl boss too close to the sun and you want to identify as somebody who's really busy because you have all these amazing opportunities. But when you think about it, maybe you want to be busy 2 days out of the week and the rest of your life you want to live in flow. So identify that way. Like, you can talk yourself into identifying however you want to when it comes to how you want to run and live your life and the beliefs that you want to hold about your life. And I mean, not that you needed any more evidence either, but if you wanted more evidence to this, I would say look at the placebo effect, right? When we do clinical trials, sometimes we'll do a placebo trial as well. And we find that people that are on the placebo also get positive results from things because they're expecting it. And so that's kind of like where you have to get your mind. And the thing is, you can choose this at any point in time. And this can be with your health. This can be with your wealth. This can be with your relationships, with your day to day life. Whatever it is that you want to believe about yourself, I'm not saying this isn't about like being delusional and then not taking any action. It's deciding who you want to be and how you want to show up in your life, and then following it up by acting like the person that you want to become. But let's talk a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because Maslow got it wrong, okay? The pyramid, if y'all have never seen this before, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. However, we actually need to flip this graphic because this is how people normally would identify, right? When we are believing something about our life and we're not changing it and it's going really poorly, let's take the example of like weight loss. Okay. I'm saying this because it's easy to talk about in terms of weight loss. Okay. If you've never seen this image before, if you're not watching the video, I'm going to lay it out for you. But this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basically, when we talk about changing an internal belief or an identity or a limiting belief, so to speak, a lot of people, I'm going to take the example of weight loss because it's easy. If talking about weight loss triggers you, I'm sorry, this episode's not for you. You may just want to click away and come back next week. But people will usually start with the environment. Okay. Oh, I want to lose weight. So I need to go buy a bunch of new clothes. I need to get a bunch of workout equipment. I need to go buy protein powder. I need to do all of this stuff that's going to get me to lose weight, right? I need to hire a coach, whatever. Then they will start working on their behaviors. Okay. Oh, I need to work out. I need to start getting into this routine and this regimen. And they start changing all of this stuff at once, which gets really difficult to uphold. Then their capabilities might start changing a little bit from that point. Are their capabilities start changing because they're putting in effort, they're exerting themselves, right? Then they think they're going to have this shift in values and beliefs because they've done all this hard work, right? They're pushing something uphill. Then their identity will finally change. They will become someone that loses weight and works out and takes care of their health because maybe they did lose a little bit of weight pushing this boulder up a hill. And lastly, they're going to go, life is so in alignment with me. I'm so in alignment. We're going to hit that spiritual level. But here's the cheat code. This is how you actually make it super, super, super easy for yourself is you take this triangle and you actually flip it. You basically do the inverse and you start at the spiritual level. So the spiritual level actually is none of your business. This is divine intervention. This is the universe. This is basically God consciousness or your spiritual team, angels, whatever you believe in. That is already supporting you. That is already on board with you because whenever you make a decision, they're already on board with you. Okay. And you want to start at the identity level. And it's the easiest because it's free. It's free and you can do it right now. If you wanted to lose weight, for example, you would need to assume the identity of somebody that has lost weight. If you want to take if you're stepping your toe in, I would say assume the identity of somebody that is losing weight. Even better if you can get to the point of has already lost it because that person would be maintaining, right? That person would already have an identity about their health and how they would behave. So shift it at the identity level. This would look like literally reframing your thoughts to losing weight is so easy for me. I take care of my health. I am so good at taking care of my health. My health matters to me. I love how healthy I behave. I love the healthy thoughts that I have. I love the healthy foods I put into my body, right? You're changing your beliefs to match the beliefs of somebody that has lost weight. And when you identify as somebody that's really good at that, it naturally leads you into your values and your beliefs changing because you'll start to honor those thoughts. They will become beliefs. If you are somebody that you believe maintaining your health means that you work out every day and you ingrain that belief so hard, not hard, but like so intentionally, you will automatically start picking up those beliefs. You will automatically shift that into a belief. And from the belief, you will gain new capability and then behavior. You will gain like any skills, knowledge, and tools that you need, right? If you need to learn from a coach or you need to read a book, if you have a belief, you're going to gain the capability next. Then you're going to move into the behaviors. Then you're going to start working out, changing your meals. Then you're going to start acting like that person because your behavior has changed now because like, I also think there's something to be said that when your behavior isn't changing, it also can be that you don't feel capable. You don't feel like you have enough knowledge or tools to back up the beliefs that you're trying to keep about yourself. So like, for example, let's say you're trying to change your financial status, but You don't know anything about investing. You don't know anything about savings accounts. You don't know anything about managing money. Capability would fall into this. You would get a book and teach yourself so you could become capable. Because if we're going from the reverse, changing your behavior, if you don't really feel like you know what you're doing, is it really going to help you? The same with working out. If you just try to throw yourself into the gym, but you don't actually have any knowledge of how muscles move, work, contract, grow, and build, what is even the point, bestie? So we are gaining the capability first. Then we are changing the behaviors from a smarter vantage point. And lastly, that's when the environment finally changes. That's when, because you've already shifted all of these things, you're going to need to buy new workout clothes. It would be a no brainer because you're going to lose body fat, right? You're going to lose body fat and you're going to need new clothes. It would be a no brainer that you would have exercise equipment laying around. You would have protein powders laying around. You would have, when you grocery shop, your grocery orders would be the healthiest, highest qualities of food because you have already done all of the work, but you did it from a different approach. So, that's what I mean when I say you need to shift your identity first because it is the easiest thing you can do. It's free. You can start right now. And I know you're asking yourself now, but Kloee, how do I change my identity? I really believe that I'm fat and broke. Like, I really believe those things about myself. You have to start with just one thought, just one thought, just one way of thinking, just one thought. Like something that I'm currently working on. And I am also seeking professional help because I think that is a huge, like, I would never tell someone, just do this all by yourself. I do think that there is a little bit of a loophole when it comes to mental health, but I am really working on identifying as someone that can hold all of my feelings because I have talked about this before, but I went through an experience in 2021 where I feel like I lost the ability to hold really intense feelings in my body. And I like disassociate or I will have a panic attack because I'm just freaking out about the physical sensations that come with really intense emotions. And like I said, I am also now working with a trained professional, but I am now like working to assume the identity of somebody that has really good mental health. I am working to assume the identity of someone that like I can hold those emotions. It is safe for me to hold the way that I feel. It is safe for me to slow down and take care of myself. It is, and it's the easiest thing in the world for me to do that, right? That's another like thing that I remind myself. And when I have intense emotions come up in my body, I will literally soothe myself and I will remind myself of those beliefs instead of letting my brain go, oh my God, we're tiptoeing into a panic attack. It's coming. We're going to panic. We're going to panic. We're going to panic. I go, no, sometimes these feelings just come up and I am a perfect vessel to hold them. It is safe for me to hold the way that I feel. It is safe for me to express the way that I feel. I am somebody that is a safe person with myself. I have good mental health. And I know that that's like a really, I'm not just trying to say, like, oh, you can just, I feel like that's a terrible example because I do think that there is so much nuance to mental health and not everybody can do that by themselves. Like, there are, like, sometimes you really do need help before you can get there. So I hesitate to even say mental health, just like take that with knowing there's a lot of nuance there. But I do feel that, like, when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to finding your dream partner, when it comes to your dream partner, let's take that one, okay? Spirit's already going to bring that person to you. But how do you identify as somebody that has that person? Who would you be inside that relationship? What kind of person would you be? What would you believe about yourself in order to feel like you were ready to receive this person? What kind of things would you do together? And can you make yourself open enough to receiving all of that? Because I think something else that happens is like when we're trying to change our identity or our belief about something within ourselves, sometimes we crank that thermostat, the internal thermostat, so high that that temperature feels so uncomfortable that we will sabotage ourselves right back down to a different temperature. And so this is why also assuming the identity is so important because sometimes the outer exterior will change, like the environmental results of something would change, and it doesn't feel safe to hold it because we weren't ready. We didn't assume the identity of somebody that could hold it. This actually happened to me in 2021. I had several months where I made $20,000 a month, over month over month over month. And it was the most money I'd ever made in my whole life. And it was crazy. Like, I used the bulk of that money to move to Washington State and like do all this stuff. And to this day, I've never gotten to a place yet where I've been able to hold that much again. Sorry, I think my camera keeps like overheating, and it is sitting in the sun. I am in a warm room, but this episode's all over the place. Anyways, the thing that I was trying to get to is that like I was not ready to hold money at that level, even though I wanted it so desperately. I was not somebody that was saving money, that was smart with money. I got all this money and I spent it almost all immediately. And this happens all the time. You see people that win the lottery and they end up spending all their lottery winnings and they end up in poverty again. Like, it happens all the time. And it is because your internal set point is not one that matches with the identity you're trying to assume. This is why it's so important to do the identity work first and become comfortable being that kind of person. And I think something that a lot of people miss when we talk about manifestation and getting the things that we want out of life is that you have to listen to those parts of yourself that are afraid, that don't want it, that try to block it. And you have to shift the identity of those parts as well for it to be a no brainer for you to receive it. So, this is why like alignment is also so important, but that would be my recommendation to you if you haven't tried manifestation from that direction. Try going from identity, values and beliefs, capability, behaviors, and then finally seeing the environmental results instead of doing it the hard way, which is changing your environment first, then your behaviors, then maybe you try to become more capable, then your beliefs you think will change, and then identifying as this person at the end. I know it sounds like crazy backwards. I promise you it's not. Like I said, I did this when I quit alcohol, and now I have a really comfortable relationship with alcohol. And I don't drink to cope with my problems. I don't feel like I can be in a room with alcohol and not drink. And it doesn't bother me. It's something that doesn't even come to the forefront of my mind. It's not like I used to be so uncomfortable around alcohol and people who were drinking it. And it just doesn't play a role in my life anymore. It's something I'm just really comfortable having or not having. And to be able to say that is insane to me. If you knew where I've come from and how I've been and like the things I would use alcohol to cope with, like you would be amazed. Things that the more you know. Anyways, this is all I wanted to talk to you about this episode. My camera keeps shutting off because it keeps overheating, so I feel like I need to get out of here before it does it again. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to support me more on this podcast, I would encourage you to do so. Check out my website, kloeetaylor.com. You can get tarot readings, courses. I also have my Patreon, which fully supports this podcast. So if you love the show, please make sure you join the Patreon. There's a tier for everyone. I offer vlogs, masterclasses, lifestyle content, tarot content, astrology content. There are new videos that go out there every single month, between like 3 and 4 new videos every month. And I really love y'all over there. Thank you for those of you that do support. It means the world to me. And if you'd like to follow me anywhere else, I'm at Kloee Taylor, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this and you stayed until the end, please, please, please leave me the little, what emoji do I want? Leave me, leave me the, leave me like an elephant emoji. Leave me an elephant. I feel like that's one I've never asked for. Or like your favorite animal if they have an emoji for it. All right. That's what I want to see. So I know that you stayed until the end. So I can say hi, so I can say hi in the comments. It also really helps me out if you leave a review or send this episode to somebody that you think needs it. And that is all I have for you. Do not forget to follow your plan and not your mood. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.